Topic: Ex cheated on me and falsely accused me of our APE, so I exposed her to everyone she knew. Please take a moment to support the channel by hitting the thumbs up. I am 25 and my girlfriend is 24. I graduated with a degree in petrochemical engineering, and I was working offshore on the Gulf of Mexico, 3 months on 1 month off. In May 2018, while I was on a 1-month vacation, I went for a Habitat for Humanity charity event with my parents where we built houses for less privileged people. Multiple charity organizations showed up at the event, including churches. During the event, I saw a beautiful girl that I liked, and I went over and introduced myself. I had a crush on her and asked her for her number after the event. I texted her that night. We planned on going out for a coffee date the following day. During the date, I found out a lot more about her. She was a supply chain manager for a Fortune 500 company, and I was a petroleum engineer, and I work offshore for 3 months on and 1 month off. I was 25-year-old then, and I wanted to make as much money as possible while I was young so I can save enough to start making investment. I was making $160K a year. Hard for a 25-year-old to resist a job like that. We continued to see each other every day after our date. 1 week later, we made things official. The following months was tough because I went back offshore, and we were communicating by phone or text. My job offshore was one of the most grueling jobs I have ever had. We were working 16-hour day, and even when I was asleep, I was always on call. It was tough on my relationship as well. We talked about our future and plans on what we would do when I returned. Things between us started to sour after returning home. She didn't want me to go back, but I promised her that I need to finish my contract, which is just another 3 more months, and I will be done. She said that being offshore is affecting my personality in a bad way. According to her, I wasn't as spontaneous and outgoing as before I went away. I was dismissive, took small jabs and jokes as personal insults, and would rather stay in, watch movies, and have sex instead of going out. Unbeknownst to both of us, I had developed some nasty social anxiety due to overworking and loneliness of my job, and it's starting to affect our relationship. I tried my best to change and be a better boyfriend. She had her own apartment and I stay with my parents because I am offshore for most of the year. During my vacation, I stayed at her apartment most of my time, and I had a spare key to her apartment. We went on family events together, birthdays, weddings, baby showers, etc., and I had a chance to meet her family members and her close friends. Every one of her friends thought we were a perfect match, and they made comments about us getting married even though we were just boyfriend and girlfriend. We were in good terms when I left, and I tried to call her every day to keep things that way. She reacts better when we talk about our future together, so I indulge her by exchanging pictures of houses we would buy and live together when I return home. I even promised to buy her dream car on her birthday. She was giving me hints that she wants us to take our relationship to the next level. I was in love with her, and I was sure that when I return home, we will get married and I would find a job in town to be closer to home for good. It wouldn't pay as much as my current job, but I am willing to give that up if it means spending the rest of my life with her. 1 month before I was due to come back home, I noticed that she started growing a little distant. Normally, we have a scheduled time to call each other, and when I called her and she didn't answer, she would call me back a few minutes later, then few minutes turned to few hours, and sometimes she wouldn't call me back at all. I knew something was wrong, and I suspected that the distance is the problem, being that one of the only problems in our relationship was that I am gone for 3 months. I decided to quit my job early and come back 2 weeks ahead of schedule because I didn't want to lose this opportunity with a wonderful girl. I ordered an engagement ring online and told my parent to hang on to it till I get back. My plan was to surprise her by showing up at her apartment and then propose to her. I played it over and over again in my head, how happy she would be, how she would jump around with excitement. After all, she had been giving me hints. Well, I grossly miscalculated. When my flight landed, I took an Uber to my parents' house to unpack and get the wedding ring. By the time I was finished, it was already getting dark. She didn't know I was in town. It was supposed to be a surprise, and I called her to confirm that she was at her apartment. I went to a flower store and got her some roses before I headed to her place around 9 p.m. When I got to her apartment door, I wanted to knock, but I changed my mind and decided to let myself in. My heart was beating fast with excitement as I turned the key and twisted the door handle to open the door. I was expecting her to scream with joy when she sees me. As soon as I opened the door, I saw my girlfriend wearing a white bathroom robe cuddling with another man next to her on the couch while they were watching TV. They noticed my presence before I opened the door. His face looked familiar. They jumped as soon as they saw me and stared at me for what seems like eternity. She broke the silence by stuttering her words, asking me what I was doing here, and she didn't know I was back. I stood there like a statue, looking like a fool with a bouquet of roses on my right and a wedding ring in my back pocket. I couldn't even say a word. I slowly raised my left hand, pointing at the guy as if to ask her who he was and what he was doing at her apartment by this time of the night, and she responded that he was just a friend, and he is about to leave. His face seems familiar. I have seen him before. He is always present at all the places I attended with my girlfriend. He follows her on Facebook and Instagram and likes all her photos and posts. She previously introduced him to me as a friend of a friend, and I stupidly believed her and took him as such. I stepped away from the door so he could walk out of the apartment. After he left, it was just me and my girlfriend. I asked her the obvious, if she is cheating on me, and she said that she can explain. I responded that it was a yes and no question, and she responded that she had been trying to tell me for a while, but she didn't have the courage to. She came forward and hugged me as I stood frozen like a statue. This wasn't how I planned it in my head. I have planned this scenario over and over, and I never saw this one coming. I still have an expensive engagement ring in my left pocket and holding a bouquet of roses on my hand. It was so embarrassing, and I didn't know whether to yell at her or to cry. She hugged me tightly as I stood there motionless. She took the flower out of my hands and walked to the kitchen and filled it up with water in a ceramic bowl for the roses. I was still standing there when she came back and told me to sit down. I still didn't move till she apologized and said that she was sorry that I had to find out this way. I sat down on her couch still in shock. I slowly accepted that our relationship was dead and asked her how things were between us. She echoed my thoughts, and we agreed to break up the next day. She said I could stay the night one last time. Seeing how it was late, we sat on separate couches silent and the TV was playing in the background. She was trying to force herself to say something to me, because it was an awkward silence. She mentions that she misses me and would like me to sleep with her one last time. I didn't respond to her, didn't even look at her direction. I wanted to leave, but I didn't have the strength. It was like the betrayer sucked the life out of me. We sat in her living room on separate couch till about 11 p.m., and she stood up and told me that she is about to go to bed, and if I want, I could sleep with her for the night. I didn't respond to her or look at her direction. I was just sitting on the couching thinking about all I sacrificed for her, how I quit my job, restructured my life and my plans, only for her to betray me. I felt like I was used, and how I didn't wish this on my worst enemy. Throughout all this I didn't even raise my voice or get angry. I was just in shock. I was just disappointed for trusting a person like I trusted her, and the level of betrayal cut so deep. Few minutes after she went to bed, I mustered the strength to stand up and walked out of her apartment. I left her spare key on the table. The following day, I was at my parent house when I start receiving several angry texts from her friends and family. Her dad called me, threatening to kick my ass and how I am going to be locked in prison for violating his daughter. He said that if it's not for her daughter wishes telling not to get the police involved, I would have been locked up for the rest of my life. As you can imagine, I was shocked and confused. I am just as confused as you reading my story. I couldn't believe what I was being accused of doing. It was clear to me that I didn't know her that well. Not only was she cheating on me, but she also didn't have the courage to break up with me and lead me on for months or weeks while she started a relationship behind my back. Then I came to her apartment to surprise her only to catch her cuddling another man. In a bid to save her image and denounce anything I might say about her because I know her family and friends, she told anyone she knew that I had forced myself on her that night in one last attempt to get some before we broke up, and I left after violating her. She claims that I have done all these terrible things, but yet told her dad that he shouldn't get the police involved or press charges against me because she didn't want to make a circus of her life in court and was the bigger person for doing so. Well, that didn't matter because the following day a police investigator reached out to me for questioning. and we scheduled an appointment for me to come in and talk to the police. I don't know who reported it to the police, but the fact that she told every one of her family and friends, I knew it could be anybody's guess. I was terrified when I stepped into the police station. I have never been in trouble before, much less being investigator for forcing myself on someone, a woman I wanted to marry 48 hours ago, a woman I was so excited to meet 48 hours ago. Now I curse the day I met her. After questioning, I walked away from the police station shaking in fear. I spent the few months in fear of being arrested and charged at any moment. I was afraid that I would go to jail, I would have a criminal record, my college degree would be worthless because I wouldn't be able to find a job, all because I loved a woman. I didn't have to tell my parents that something was going on. They heard it from someone, and if not for them, I would have ended it. I was being harassed online, and I have to delete all my social media accounts. My parents encouraged me to speak to a therapist, which helped me a bit. After 3 months of waiting for the police to arrest me, I thought they probably were not coming, or they didn't believe her, or it was just a routine investigation because someone contacted them. I found a new job in my town. It paid well, but not close to my offshore job. I had enough money saved and invested it. I was loaded with cash. I just wanted to keep to myself. 6 months after being accused of violating her, guess who texted me? My ex-girlfriend that accused me of violating her. I was surprised. I thought it was another trap, but she proceeded to apologize for the whole thing, and actually admitting to faking it, though she never publicly admitted it to save her own reputation. I couldn't believe that she destroyed my reputation. She destroyed me emotionally, and she destroyed me psychologically, and she thinks that a simple apology would clear the air. I was sure lucky that I didn't marry her because she is a sociopath. She had no idea how much trouble she got me into, how much I lived in fear over the past 6 months while she was enjoying her life with a new boyfriend. Over the next few months, I became a springboard to all the issues she was having in her life. She complained about her current life situation, including how her boyfriend was screwing up in their relationship, and was asking me for advice. She would tell me how much she regretted breaking up with me, and she did it because her boyfriend was pressuring her. Even before we started dating, she wished that she never broke up with me or cheated on me, especially now that she knew that I was there to propose to her. She laments how she probably will be planning for our marriage or already married with a baby on the way with me. And then she would ignore me at times when the relationship between her and her boyfriend got better. I know some of you reading this story would ask me to block her and never speak to her. I know, every bone in my body was screaming the same thing too. But in hindsight, that was the best plan forward. She went from my accuser to my best defender because she confessed that she lied about everything. Soon after she ignored me, a friend told me that she posted a smear campaign on social media saying that it was the 6th month anniversary of her assault and how much she sympathized with domestic violence victims, and how no means no. She was clearly referring to me. I cried when I saw her message because I have done nothing to deserve this. I have never raised my voice at her. My only crime was that I loved her. I spoke to my therapist about it, and he said that she was trying to bait me. Then a few weeks later she starts texting me again. A part of me wanted to keep the conversation going. Each time I did, I took screenshots of everything she said. I stored every conversation and compiled it into a complete 4K voice-over documentary of what happened from when we met, the events we attended, when I caught her with her new boyfriend cheating on me, when I was harassed online after I was accused of our APE, the calls I received from her father, the police investigation, the depression, my self-deletion thoughts, her confession, her smear campaign. I bought a wholesale USB flash drive and downloaded the documentary on it and sent it to all her friends, all her coworkers that I found on Facebook and LinkedIn, her boss, her dad's friend, her church members, even her grandmother and her neighbors, and ultimately the police investigator. Within a few days, I started receiving results. All those who dragged my name in public and private apologized to me in public. Some people bought me gift because they felt guilty. Some people tracked me down so they could apologize face to face. Her father called me, and all he was worried about was that he didn't want me to send it to the police. Well, too late, buddy. I lied to him and told him that she would be fine and I didn't get the police involved. She sent me a text saying things like, "How could you betray my trust like that? Or you loser ruined my life. I never loved you." I replied to her angry text with, "Be careful what you say to me. Everything you said will be used against you in court of law." Didn't hear from her again. Needless to say, she got fired from her job, her boyfriend broke up with her, and she is currently being investigated by the police. From what I have heard, she would catch at least a misdemeanor or even a felony. I just have to wait because the case is still being adjudicated. Please hit the thumbs up button if you want more content